What's up, everyone? I'm NyVo. I just came back from SoCal CanJam, and I wanted to talk about the headphones that I heard there and some of the chains and what else I was doing there, and I guess overall what it's like over there. So CanJam is a headphone meetup. This one was in SoCal near Newport Beach, and you get to hear there's basically a bunch of booths set up everywhere, and you can walk through the big area of the building and try a bunch of different headphones that you don't get to hear all in one spot hardly ever. So it's a good place to, hear things back to back. Unfortunately, you can't hear everything on the same chain, so it doesn't always make it fair. But anyways, as you learn more, you can figure how that affects everything. But let's talk about the headphones that I saw there first. The first thing I went to see was the Dan Clark Audio Expanse. It's his new open back version of the Stealth. And if you haven't heard the Stealth before or Expanse, I would say Expanse sounds like a very refined version of a HiFiMan Edition XS. It's like the XS, but a lot better, a lot cleaner, and it's basically all better all around. Very natural sounding, pretty nice presentation. It's not diffused like HD 800. It's more like the XS style of stage, if you know what that is. I'm going to post a different XS video because I think it's an important video to talk about. But I'll try to describe the stage on that in depth in that video. The difference from Expanse and Stealth, I did like Expanse better, as I'd expect, because it is an open back. But the Stealth has, better bass, and I guess the issue is that I can hear some distortion in the treble a little bit on the Stealth. Not too bad, but I do hear it. And the Expanse, I don't hear that hardly at all, so it's very clean. And I did notice that the Expanse is very amp picky at the Dan Clark Audio booth, which is actually within the head amp booth, I guess. They had the Chord Hugo TT2 with the M scaler, and that's what they were using to demo his gear. I did not really like that chain with the Expanse, so I heard Expanse on several other places within the CanJam, and I heard it on a Burson amp, which was kind of on par with the TT2. I think it's one of their higher end ones. I'm not even sure, but that was actually the first thing I saw when I got there. And then I heard the Expanse on the Amp and Sound Nautilus, and that was quite a bit better than both the TT2 and the Burson amp. So I was actually probably within the floor show, I think that was the thing that I was most impressed with. But there was also the Warwick Aperio, and if you remember in my, I think it was in my Susfara video, I mentioned the Shang Senior is one of my favorite headphones right now. I was trying to wait to decide to hear Aperio before deciding which one I want to buy. And for me personally, I think I'm going to go with the Shangri-La Senior because Aperio was really good. Don't get me wrong, it's a really good headphone. But it's one of those things that it's so good that it can be boring, where Shang does not, it's not like that at all. Shang is less accurate as far as an overall sound. The bass is not as good as, Aperio or Susfara. But the way it presents treble is pretty insane on Shang, at least on the Dave plus M Scaler plus 3ES Elite plus Shang Senior. So I do think I want to go that route. And, with Aperio, you're limited to their chain, and you can't, swap products around or anything. So I think I do like Shang better anyways. But there was another really cool thing that I heard at the show. It was the Mytek Empire. And now I heard the Mytek Empire with Susfara, and now I think overall that's the best overall headphone that I've heard was Susfara on the Mytek Empire. The Empire it's a like $20,000 all-in-one It's like a streamer, a Roon server, a DAC, and an amp with a display screen that connects to Roon, and it comes with an iPad for remote selection, with headphone outputs and a ton of other outputs on the back of the device, and it looks really good too. Sound wise, yeah, so before the Mytek Empire, I was listening to the Sesfara on AHB2, and that was really good. But Mytek Empire is definitely a step above that, and the stage is expands quite a bit more, and there's really nice layering on the stage too on Sesfara. I didn't know Sesfara stage could do that, so it was a really nice experience. However, I still think that Shang Senior, with its impressive detail, can sound more interesting. Not as an overall sound, it's not as good, but for me personally, I do tend to gravitate toward things that are more technical, and Shang Senior is the one for me. So I think that's probably the route I'm going to go. But man, am I tempted by that Mytek Empire. It was nice. So I did a review on Voce already, and I told you how it sounded on Dave plus M-Scaler plus BHSE, which is how I heard it at a previous CanJam. This year, they had the same thing, but instead of the Dave plus M-Scaler, they had it on the Yggdrasil from Shit. And so on the Yiggy, it was not a really interesting headphone at all. It just, to me, it was really boring, and I took it off my head almost immediately. So for whatever reason, the Dave plus M-Scaler matters a lot for that chain for me. So the new Utopia from SoCal, I'd say was a definite improvement over the previous Utopia. The previous Utopia has a really bad, not really bad, but it has a fatiguing treble, and I could never listen to the SoCal Utopia, the original one, for more than 40 minutes. So on the showroom floor, obviously I didn't listen that long, but I didn't feel like that was going to be a problem. The treble is much cleaner. It is like a fixed version of the old Utopia, but the price is retailing at $5,000, and I don't think I can get on board with that. I'm not going to spend that much on it. And we were hearing it on the DCS line stack, I think it's called, and it sounded pretty good. The stage was smaller than I wanted, though, and I still don't think it's competing with Sesfara directly, but it does look nice, and it sounds better than definitely better than average, and maybe better than some other flagships, but I just don't think it's competing with the top dogs. But yeah, I think it's worth listening to, because if you didn't like Utopia because of the treble before, well, this kind of fixes it. The Empyrean Elite, I heard that on a Felix tube amp, which may not be the best way to hear it, but it was so mid, meaning like very average sounding. And that's a very expensive headphone that I just didn't want to spend any time with it. It has a long way to go. But again, it's something that looks nice, so if that's all you care about, sure. I heard Unique Melody on Unique Melody Fusang, and then that's like a $4,500 IEM, but I actually like my Unique Melody Mest Indigo better than the Fusang, which is the Indigo is quite a bit cheaper. For the Indigo, I did walk around with that on the floor, and I was trying on a few things. In the Astel and Kern booth, they had a SP2000T, which is a DAP that has a few options on how it's going to sound. You can either choose op-amp mode or hybrid mode or tube mode, and there's an actual, well, I don't know if it's an actual tube amp, but they say it's a tube amp. And in the hybrid mode, there's different layers of hybrid. You can have it more tubey or more op-ampy. So it did sound pretty good. And I noticed that I can, since there are so many different modes that you could get it to sound how you want it to, which was kind of nice. But the SP3000 that I heard was even better. Very refined sound. It I'm starting to notice that Indigo is quite a chameleon of, it changes quite a bit based on what it's plugged into. On SP3000, it just sounds like a really nice IEM. But on FIO M17, I'd say it sounds more exciting, but not as refined. I do personally prefer excitement with IEMs, so I think my favorite is still the M17, even though it doesn't quite sound as refined as SP3000. SP3000 is so clean that it sounds smoother. And I did like SP3000. I have no clue how much either of these things cost. I'm probably because I'm not going to buy it because I want the M17 for specific headphones that I have. The Abyss Diana, I think it's the newer version. So I've heard this headphone before, maybe 3 years ago, and I hated it. I think that was on a Hugo 2. This time, I got to hear the Diana, whatever version it is, on DCS line stack, and it was really nice. I take back all the bad things I said about Diana. Maybe it's the version number, I don't know. Maybe it's the amp, probably is. But Diana sounded really good in the DCS room. I also got to hear DMS's personal modded Diana, which his is it's modified where it's like kind of half closed and a little bit open back. But he's got a much heavier bass on his, and the mids are slightly sucked out. But it sounded really good, and he was just playing it off of I think it was a Higbee R5. He told me. But yeah, it sounded really cool, and I was about to go buy one right after the show, but I was like, oh, it's $4,000, so I was like, oh, maybe not. So, but it was nice, I'll say. Way better than I expected based on how I heard it before. The LCD4Z, I heard it DCS also, and it was pretty good too. I think I was more impressed with Diana just because of how much it changed from the last time I heard it. Sesfara and Abyss, I also heard there, and honestly, I wasn't a big fan of either of them. They're the Sesfara and LCD4Z were just, the Abyss 1266 TC were not as good as I've heard it on other chains. So the best I've heard Abyss on was like a super expensive monoblock from Wu Audio. But obviously, I don't know, that's pretty expensive. And I still wasn't very impressed overall. Like the stage was good, but the bass was not that great. So I still haven't found a really good chain that I like for Abyss 1266 TC. People commonly recommend it on the WA33, and to me, it's not that good on that chain. Maybe it's the tubes I heard it on, I don't know, but I was not impressed. Let's see. I heard Shang Senior on an iFi IESL and a A1C10 Riviera, I guess. And me personally, I was disappointed. It's not as technical as the Dave M. Skiller 3ES Elite, but yeah, I'm not gonna buy that chain. I'll just put it that way. Some other people did like that chain, so it is what it is. That's just not how I want to hear my music. So for what else? Things I've never heard before that I wanted to try out. There's a Sundara, a HiFiMan Sundara. I've never heard it before, actually. I never owned one. So I finally got to hear it on the EF400, and that's the first time I heard the EF400 as well. I did not like Sundara. The stage feels really closed off and closed in, and it just sounds a little bit unnatural. The closed back Sundara, on the other hand, was better than I expected. I think it actually sounded better than the open back Sundara. I don't know how the heck they pulled that off, but pretty interesting. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it wasn't that bad. I'll put it that way. And the EF400 itself, I would say it's okay. It does sound better than a lot of $200 to $300 headphone amps and DACs and whatever. I think the big issue I have with it, I think there's like no RCA outputs on it, so you can't use it. You can't use the DAC for it on the external amp. So the upgrade capabilities are not that good. So that's why I never even considered buying one. But it did sound decent, and I think on Aria, so that's the level where I have a problem with the EF400. It doesn't let Aria perform the way Aria can. Aria can stage huge if you have it powered right, and EF400 is not doing it. What else? Okay, so that might be it for headphones. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing some. I might comment below if I remember something that I forgot. But I also did another thing at CanJam, which has not really, I don't even know if it's been attempted at any other CanJams, but I hosted an ABX, double-blind ABX test, and we were testing amplifiers and DACs, amps versus amps, and DACs versus DACs, DACs versus DACs. And I just got some random participants, people that I've never met before. I actually had it set up in my hotel room, and we did the full thing, double blind, and had them, run a series of tests, and I have some results here. So I have to put together a video for that, and that'll be probably the next video. It's going to take me some time because it's a lot of work to do that one. But look, hit like and subscribe if you want to watch that. You'll see it next, I guess. It had some pretty interesting results, and I think they're going to be fun to share. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for the update with CanJam. And so now I know that Aperio is not for me, but it was really good. Shang is more for me. I'm the technical type of guy versus tonality. Oh, by the way, Aperio did sounds kind of like Expanse combined with CRBN, but only the good traits of each. So you get like the sound of Expanse on Nautilus, which is kind of how it sounds, plus the bass of a CRBN. So it's like a pretty tight and slightly impactful bass. So, but the other thing about Aperio is things just sound so natural, and it's the most real sounding headphone that I've heard. So anything on it just sounds like it's the real thing. So that's super unique about that headphone, and for a lot of people that is the definition of hi-fi. So if that's you, then Aperio is by far the best in that category. All right, I guess I'll post that ABX double blind test later, and then I'll see you guys later. All right, see ya.